Hello, Malik Harrington here, Family Budget Fisherman. I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode. I want to continue on our Beginner Fisherman Series. Remember, this is a series that is dedicated to the fisherman or beginner fisherman who's taking fishing seriously and not just kind of as, kind of a one-off, every 5 or 6 months they'll go fishing in the pond or park or something like that. But this is a person who is going to make a modest investment in fishing to see if this is something that will be a passion later on in their lives. So with that, let's get started. So again, as you read in the description, in the thumbnail, read in the thumbnail and then in the description below the thumbnail, we're talking about hooks. Now, there are only 4 or 5 styles of hooks that a beginner fisherman needs. That's it. And that is, if you connected with some of the aforementioned videos that are already on the channel, dealing with baits, dealing with reels and rods and so forth, add to that how simple it is. Now, we all know how many different styles of hooks there are out there. I mean, just look what I have here. These are my plastic bait hooks that are 1/0 and greater. Look at that. Okay? It's a whole box of those. There are jig hooks, size 1 and smaller. Here is jig hooks, size 1/0 and bigger. I got, on top of all that, I'm not done. I'm only about halfway done. I got these weighted plastic hooks, and I got more down here to put in here, but I've finally gotten started with those there. Those are belly weighted plastic, belly weighted hooks and so forth. And I got a box of just these, the Eagle Trocars, and these are for, they call it a finesse kit for Nico rigging, but you can use it for wacky rigging. You can use it for other styles of fishing, but they use it primarily for Nico. Now, when I go fishing, I carry 2 boxes, generally speaking. This is the box that I carry with me on the shore or boat. That's the box there. Okay. And then this is the box that I carry with me. It's usually the backup in the truck. All right. Now, excuse me for covering up my head. I just wanted to make sure you got a good shot of that. Okay? Now, imagine being a beginner fisherman. Most of you are not who watch this channel. Imagine being a beginner fisherman and having to see that on an entire wall of tackle, no matter what store you are in. It can be overwhelming. So if you stick to these 5 styles, 4 or 5 styles, your life will be so much simpler. So the very first one we have is the crappie jig. Okay? Now, I know I'm going to get some good conversation when I say this. This crappie jig right here, this is a size 6, 1/16 ounce jig head. Okay? This, in my opinion, is the most versatile style of a weighted jig head in an arsenal. It's small enough to go after small fish. It's heavy enough to go down a little bit deeper. And it is big enough to catch bigger fish. As a matter of fact, I have on, if you look at my Instagram, look on the Instagram channel at Family Budget Fisherman, you'll see this exact hook be used to catch bass over, I think that bass was close to 3 pounds. And then I caught catfish with it. I forgot to put the 1.5 pound bluegill. I forgot to put the 2 pound crappie up there, but they'll go up there as well. Well, actually the crappie are up there. The crappie are up there. But I've caught big fish with this particular jig head style. Now, so that is the very first one. That crappie jig is incredible. So we were fishing, a friend of mine and I were fishing, and I broke out my crappie jigs when everyone else was throwing all kinds of bass baits for the spotted bass that we were catching. And they were throwing out flukes, they were throwing drop shots, they were throwing buzz baits, they were throwing chatter baits, and they were throwing the hard jerk baits. So both the flukes and then the hard jerk baits. I looked at what everyone was doing, and I broke out my crappie jigs. And trust me when I tell you, that crappie jig brought in about as much as of the rest of the baits brought into that boat. We caught, according to his clicker, we caught 48 fish. 48 fish. And, you know, I brought in a good number of those fish on the crappie jig. And so I say this to you, don't ever not have that in your arsenal. I don't care who you are, okay? Now, I think I belabored that point. Now, where do you get it from? Here's another thing. I'm going to be brand specific in this episode, as I have occasionally in previous episodes. I personally believe that Eagle Claw is probably the most accurate when it comes to the size of hooks. So I just showed you a size 6, 1/16 ounce jig hook. And I got it from Bass Pro Shops, okay? Made by Eagle Claw, okay? And in this, I think this pack cost $2, $2.50 or something like that. It was definitely under $3 for this pack, and you get 10 in the pack, okay? So I recommend that. If you don't find it at Bass Pro Shops or Shields or Academy or Dick's Sporting Goods or Sportsman's Warehouse or Cabela's, go to either your regional or local tackle shop and find and ask for jig heads, 1/16 ounce jig heads in the with a size 6 hook or a smaller hook. Now, you can get the size up. You can size up to the size 4 hook, but I don't suspect that you should get in that much bigger. This is what a size 4 hook would look like. Size 4 hook would look like 1/16 ounce. So, but like I said, I personally believe that the size, I'm sorry, this is not a size 4. This is a size 2. This is a size 2, not size 4, size 2. Size 2. I personally believe that Eagle Claw is the most accurate because from company to company, a size 2, just like other parts of the, excuse me, other parts of the bait and tackle, a medium heavy is to one company what a medium might be to another company, or a medium light would be to a third company. So if you want to be accurate and save money, and I think that the Eagle Claw hooks, both the Eagle Claw outright or the Trocar, and we'll talk about the Trocar a little bit later on, the Trocar series, have the best value in terms of hooks. I'm only going to say this and I'm going to get back because I'm already feeling like I'm doing a rabbit trail. Hooks are too doggone expensive. I remember when hooks cost 15, 20, 25 cents, maybe even 50 cents a hook. And today they're averaging $1.50 to $2 a hook. And y'all know, you companies know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about VMC. I'm talking about Gamakatsu. I'm talking about, in some cases, Owner. And then the companies that make their hooks based upon those hooks. I mean, you got companies, even the private label brand of Sportsman's Warehouse, they have hooks. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you right now. Jig Hooks, bigger than a 1/0. I promise you, I'm going to get back to this, but I just want to make sure that you understand. So this Lost Creek is made by, this is a private label, Sportsman's Warehouse private label. These are Gamakatsu hooks. These hooks, there are 4 in here, and I think this pack, if I had bought it out retail, cost like $7. It's really expensive for these hooks. It's between $5 and $7. And I'm thinking, really? All that much money for private label? For private label, it's over $1 a hook. I know for sure it's over $1 a hook. So, okay, my rant's over. Take 2. So at any rate, that is the crappie jig. And you could go with the private label of Dick's Sporting Goods. They got their private label called Jawbone, which is really good. I like their hooks. They have them in yellow, white, black. You could decide your colors. But if I were to give you a priority when it comes to painted or non-painted, if you can get away with it, go non-painted. But if you personally feel that you want to have a color on your jig head, start off with chartreuse. Next would be pink. Then white, then black. Because you will find that that order of hooks in terms of color, you will be drawn to that with other baits that you will choose to fish with. In that order: chartreuse, pink, white, black. Happens to most of us. Now, there is nothing 100% in fishing, so there might be a minority of you who do it that way, but trust me when I tell you, chartreuse, pink, white, black, in that order. And that will go for just about any color of a jig head, unless, of course, you're dealing with green pumpkin, if you're dealing with brown, and you're being more specific. But in terms of general colors, chartreuse, pink, white, black. All right? Now, moving right along. So the next color, the next kind of hook is going to be your extra wide gap hook. Now, where I told you on the jig head, size 6, 1/16 ounce. Okay? Same thing with this one. This is the extra wide gap hook. This is the size. This is a size 1/0 right here. This is a size 1/0. And I'm going to say 2 things about this one. Not only should you stick with a 1/0, but stick with a 1/0 extra wide gap hook, just as you see this one here. There are other types. The next style similar to this is called an offset hook. You don't want to start off with that one simply because it does not allow for you to use baits that are fatter. If you decide you want to buy a crawdad style plastic bait and you want to use it, you'd have to buy a much bigger hook in order to compensate for the belly, pun intended, of that hook in order to be able to catch, or throw that bait effectively. So you would want to go with that 1/0 extra wide gap. Otherwise, you probably would be at a 3/0 offset hook. And speaking of 3/0, here is a 3/0 extra wide gap hook, which if you were to go with an offset in order to get that kind of space, you would probably have to go with a 5/0. So you see how this is working? And then once you get past 3/0, whether it is an offset hook or whether it is an extra wide gap hook, you're getting into the specialty hooks. 4/0, 5/0, those are specialty hooks. Just like on the low end, when you get below the size 6, so when you get down to size 8 and 10 and 12, you're getting down into specialty stuff. And the goal of this particular episode is to keep you out of the specialty stuff so that you're not forced to have to use, particular hooks for only 1 or 2 types of fishing. Remember, the number one fish in the United States for fishing, for sport fishing, is the bass. Okay? Whether it's the largemouth, smallmouth, spotted, it's the bass. Okay? However, bass fishing is specialized. It's just huge, but it is a specialized fishing effort. Okay? So it may seem, because we're so overwhelmed by the amount of this specialty, that it is typical to get those other type of hooks. Stay away from it. You're going to do well in the beginning. Once your style matures, you will find other hooks and styles that you'll get used to. So for now, stick with the extra wide gap hook. So size 1/0 and size 3/0. And again, this is the Trocar extra wide gap hook. The reason why I got it is because I'm noticing now that as Eagle Claw, it's happening more now than ever. As Eagle Claw is getting into bigger sizes, they're moving their hooks into the Trocar series rather than leaving them at the Eagle Claw series. Now, having said that, you can still find some 3/0 and 4/0 and 5/0 in the Eagle Claw specific category, but a lot of them are moving into Trocar. I don't know if that's a business decision. It's just something that I'm noticing. So you got the 1/0 and the 3/0 on that. Now, the next thing, we're going to go back to a jig hook style, weighted hook style, and that will be your larger hook. Okay? This hook right here, you're looking for it in a 2/0 specifically, a 2/0. And that jig head, 1/8 ounce. Now, you can get away with a 3/16 ounce. You can even get away with a 1/4 ounce. If you think you need a 1/4 ounce because you're fishing deeper water or you're fishing faster water, then so be it. Okay? But as a beginner fisherman, if you don't want to have to go out and buy tackle every time you go fishing, now, just so that you know, as an aside, that's something that you're just going to do. That's something we do. With all this fishing equipment you see me here with, I am drawn like a bug to a flame to a tackle store. And I don't care what I have already. When I look at the tackle in the store, I'm just going to tell you, I need it. I'm out of it. I'm low on it. And then I come back home and then I realize, wow, I bought 5 of those already. It's just the way that it is. So back to the story. 1/8 ounce, 2/0 jig hook. Okay? Now, Eagle Claw doesn't make these. You can get these as an Arky, which is what this is from Walmart. You can get Arky. You could go with Kalins. You can go with private label. Any one of the stores that have private label. What you're looking for is a 1/8 ounce 2/0 jig hook. Okay? Because no matter where you are in the country, I believe California has some of the biggest and deepest lakes in the country, period. We have lakes that are over 1,200 feet deep. We fish them, okay? And Lake Shasta, near where I live, is the biggest lake in the state of California, and it might be one of the biggest lakes in the country, and deep. And it's what I throw right here. It's what I throw and catch fish. The reason why is because of the versatility of this hook. And you can buy as many of them as you want. Take no regard in the color. It doesn't have to be red. It can be red, it can be black, it can be gold. Don't let anybody disturb you over the gold 1/8 ounce. There are some people who say they fail all the time. Now, you will have, and this is with any hook, you're going to have hooks that dull. So you'll have to learn how to test your hooks to make sure that you don't have any bends. And we'll get into that. You know, if you rub your hand across a hook like this and you feel a little bit of abrasiveness, you know it might be time to, you know, break the hook and start anew. Okay? So that's style number 3. Okay? We got the crappie jig, we got the extra wide gap hook, and now we have the weighted jig, the big jig head. Okay? Now, and I do want to add to that, right, real quick before I move on, that you can hook them up with your longer baits like this. You can do it weedless with this right here. They work very well. I know some of you look at that and say, no, that needs to be a darter head. You're right. But if I'm a beginner, trust me, this ball head works. I throw this ball head now. I have darter heads. I do. I mean, you know, everyone, if you fish long enough, you have darter heads. It's just the way it is. But for a beginner fisherman, you want to stay simple. You want to stay simple. And for those of you who are beginner fishermen, I'll show you, this is what a darter head looks like. This is one example of a darter head. Okay? I do not recommend that you buy this hook in the beginning because this is a specialty hook. Okay? It even flows in the water a certain way that when you start paying attention to what your hooks look like in the water and how they move your bait, you'll realize it moves your bait differently than a ball-headed jig. And a ball-head jig will not disturb the action of a lure, even if the jig is not made for that particular bait. Just so that you know, there's a ball head right there. Okay? And I caught fish on it. So I use a ball head for my curly tails. I'm just telling you, they work. Here's a ball head. Here's a ball head for my drop shot. Now this is a Gamakatsu in here, 3/8 ounce Gamakatsu on a size 1/0 right there. Now, so the fourth style is, again, I'm being very specific, is this is called the mushroom, the half head jig head. Okay, it looks kind of like a mushroom. That's why I was about to say the mushroom head, but it looks like a mushroom. Okay, this is made by Berkeley. Okay, this hook is good for Ned rigs. It's good for weighted Senko. If you don't want to put the nail in the bait, it's good for that. It's good for shaky heads. It's good for flick shake, if any of you remember that style of fishing. This is a good hook for all of that. It also can be good for Ned rigs. As a matter of fact, my PB last year, if I can find that bait real quick, my PB last year was caught on a similar bait to that. I don't see it, and I'm not going to belabor the point. But it was caught on a similar bait. It was caught on one just like this. It was caught on a Ned skirt just like this. And the head of it was if I can find it, it was this exact bait here. So if I were to take this skirt off or this worm off and put it on here, that would be the exact bait that I caught my PB for 2020. Not my PB overall, but my PB for 2020 was a 6.5 pound largemouth, and I caught her on that. Okay. so you can catch big fish on it. So this half head jig head comes in 3 sizes that I'm familiar with. It comes in the 1/16 ounce. It comes in 1/8, and it comes in 1/4. Okay, all of which are useful. Now, I got these colors out because they're varied colors, but as I just showed you, they come in combinations of colors. You can get them all white, all black. You can get them brown. You can get them in green pumpkin. You can get them in a combination of green pumpkin and white. You can get them in a combination of green, orange, and chartreuse, or you can get them in all chartreuse. Those are the various colors. And as you can see, because I named them off like that, I've been using them. So I like those because of how versatile they are. Just recently, I used a black 1/16 ounce. This caught a lot of smallmouth as well this past weekend. And then here's a Ned bomb. Caught crappie on that. Going for bass, and I caught crappie. You know, that's just kind of the way that it is. Okay. And because I was looking for a certain type of action, I even used it on a crappie jig. And this bait right here, again, as I say, was responsible for a good number of spotted bass that were caught, keeper spotted bass that were caught. And there, again, it is the half head right there on a twin tail right there. This is a Berkeley product, that skirt that you see there, for those of you who might be interested. And then, so those 4 primary styles, in my view, are going to work best for you as a beginner fisherman. Like I said, if you do need to go for a 1/4 ounce on that jig head, you can go for a 1/4 ounce, but it may not be necessary even if you're fishing deep water, because the time that beginner fishermen should be fishing, and the goal is to catch a lot of fish, not to necessarily go catch a PB, because you haven't learned a style yet. You can't, it's just like anything else. You have to have your own unique writing style, or your own unique speaking style, or your own walking style. Even the way you dress is your own style. Give yourself time. Use some of the general concepts here, and then as you continually progress, and you say, my water has more grass, my water has less grass, my water's clear, my water's stained, my water's chocolate, or my water's high, or my water's low, my water moves fast, or my water's still. All of these variants. Sometimes it could be as easy as, well, you know, I have a lot of forage. And then there are times when, you know, the place is absent of forage. You have to know for yourself, however, as you develop, how that works for you. But I promise you this, if you start off with these particular styles of hooks, you will be able to catch fish, catch them in numbers, and be able to do extremely well on the water. Last thing I forgot to mention about that extra wide gap hook. That extra wide gap hook is so versatile that if you wanted to throw a weightless, and I don't think I mentioned that, if you wanted to throw something weightless, your straight tail worm or something like that, that you could do it, because the weight of these, because we're not doing fine wire hooks, these are regular wire hooks. The weight of these, plus the salt that's in most of today's bait, including roboworm, you can get a nice cast out and be able to bring it back weedless and catch some fish. So I wanted to add that as a postscript to what we're discussing in this particular episode. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I look forward to some of the back and forth that we may have between us with regard to these styles of hooks. And, you know, I want to thank you all for keeping it clean. You know, there's some who have really brought it to me, but they kept it clean, and I want to appreciate you for that. Thank you to all the new people. And lastly, don't do anything in order to break your family's budget trying to buy all of this equipment, especially these expensive hooks. But do everything you can in order to break your personal best after you develop your style of fishing. I'll talk with you in the next episode. Have a great one. See you on the next one.